When I was a kid, when I went to New York for the year and took out of college, and I was going back and forth about acting, and my parents came to see me, and then they were going to Miami, and I came. We stayed at the Fontainebleau, the old Fontainebleau. And I actually went out with Liza Minnelli and her Peter Allen and his brother, you know, whatever. They were at the hotel. Judy Garland was performing there. I always felt, I think your attraction to a place, like to a person, is totally visceral. And Miami had that. You know, and it was not glitzy or glamorous or anything at that point in that way. I'm a water baby, so the fact that there was water everywhere, and of course I'd grown up in California, so winter was not my natural, though I loved having the seasons until I didn't love having the seasons anymore. So when we were first talking about leaving Los Angeles, there were only two places that we thought would work, Miami or New York City. And we came here and looked around. We could, you know, it needed to be New York City then. So when we realized we were done with Newport, it was time, and if we weren't going to do it then, it'll be 8 years in November. If not now, when we were going to be, you know, and that's when Miami wasn't hot like it is now. This is really from the pandemic on. It's just turned into a whole different thing. But our kids came here all the time. They were always trying to push us down here because they love it. And they're both jocks. They love the weather, whatever. Our daughter was coming in the winter, and actually she bought a house here the same week we bought a house here. Our son was there all the time, so they were practically pushing us here to get that, you know, to Miami. But we couldn't find a house. They all looked like aquariums to us, you know. And then one day we saw a picture of this house. We didn't know anything about Golden Beach. We didn't know anything about this part of Miami. We only knew really South Beach or the Keys. And that was probably stupid. We should have, you know, but we saw that. I said to Richard, come and look at this house, who turns out to have been designed by the protege of a very famous Mexican architect, Barragan, and his name is Legaretto. We only did 3 houses maybe in America, but certainly in Florida, this was one of them. And the minute, you know, we were both, that was it. And I didn't know it would be as hard as it was. It was unbelievably stressful. We couldn't sell Newport, which we had a deal that made this possible. So it took us 2 years to even be able to understand. We were terrified to drive more than a mile. We had no idea what had happened to us. By the time we emerged and looked around, we realized, well, we should start trying to have a life here. I've found it, I'm just at a stage in my life now where real friendship has never been more important to me. But if it's not real, I don't care. I mean, all those years of all the TED things, all the entertaining I did, all the cooking, all the house guests, all of the friendships that turned out to not be real, that were based on things others than really caring. I don't need any of that anymore. I mean, really neither of us does. So coming here, we weren't looking for that. We didn't think it would be as hard as it was just to find, you know, 3 couples or what, you know, 3 women that were real and that were anywhere near at a level that, I'm not talking about, I don't need to talk about Proust with them, you know, but that just were just real and available and honest, and it wasn't going to be competitive chit-chat. And I don't do the ladies at the lunch thing, you know. I mean, they're never going to get me at a luncheon or an event with a whole lot of women applauding each other, or a table with 10 people making small talk with strangers about God knows what. You know, I've never been one of the girls in that way, but I've always had very deep friendships. Now the pandemic and whatever, even if you were an extreme extrovert, you had to change your style. That didn't help us in terms of building a life here. But you know, I'm still feeling the way you're feeling. I mean, this is an endlessly fascinating place. And complicated, and because everybody working for us comes from a different culture, a different, you know, that's where a lot of the characters develop from People Die in Sunshine, people I never would have in a million years known otherwise. I never based a character exactly on a real person. I don't need to. But there's certainly components, and I have a good ear because I was an actress for accents. I can say it out loud to myself, whether it's Spanish or Russian or whatever, and hear if it sounds right, you know, or fake. And then I just mush it all together and characters emerge. And this place can't run out of characters or things that are socially interesting, because I always say that my books are convergence of the haves, the never gonna haves, the used to haves, the wanna haves, you know, whatever. And that's the way this is. There's a novel I did called Seasick that I did in Newport. It was the second Newport novel, and it has Newport characters in it that I never would have known people like this ever in my life if we hadn't lived in Newport. And the other novel, The Beauty, that I wrote there. And the novel Remain Calm, which was like Radio Blues. It was just absolutely had fun, really fun, and it's a funny book, and you know, and I love doing it. But everything comes out of a palette that if you just stay in one place, you can't. And I listen, you know. A lot of the things I couldn't make up stories that people tell. I couldn't make up what I read in the New York Post, you know. I would get lots of ideas there that I, you know, smushed together. And Miami, I think now, is the most interesting city in America, period, for better or worse. There's crazy money that the likes of which is hard to even understand. And the values are all over the place. And the pressure, especially on women, about what you're supposed to look like and what you know, I mean, I've never lived even in New York City or Beverly Hills, any place that is this narcissistically involved and interested in the surface of everything. You know, money, beauty, tight abdominal muscles. You know, we were just on the trip to the Keys and there were women there wearing little tiny bathing suits where you could see their liposuction and their tummy tuck scars. And I'm thinking, why is that a good idea? We need to see that. Wear your bathing suit 3 inches higher and everybody's going to say, wow. You know, that's how, you know, this is this place is really, you know, you have to be very grounded to hold yourself together here and choose carefully. So, but we're just in a different stage of our life now, and we like to be home. We like to be quiet. We like to sit out there at the end of the day and have a glass of wine and let our breaths out and you know, and talk. And for novelists, you know, that's essential. Even then, our lives have been too busy and crazy just trying to figure out. The last 3 years of everybody's lives have been like that. So, so I don't know that I'll ever figure Miami out completely. I'm still terrified driving here. You know, I have my little milk run route, and anything off that, I have no idea where I am. I won't go on I-95. I'm completely terrified of it.